there have been a handful of stories in the past several weeks that are kind of shedding light on the dangers and misuse of AI in content and media. There's some horror stories kind of coming out about this. First up, a report from a misinformation tracking site called NewsGuard showed that there are a ton of content farms that are now using AI to generate hundreds of low quality articles a day and then raking in programmatic ad dollars. With programmatic ads, companies might be showing up on sites that they have no knowledge about by signing up to a programmatic ad network like Google's ads. Hundreds of brands, NewsGuard found, are unwittingly ending up displayed on these sites. And unfortunately, otherwise legitimate media sites are kind of following the lead here. So, in another story, tech site Gizmodo recently started publishing AI generated content, trying to publish more frequently using AI, and they got very problematic results. For instance, one article that they published on the Star Wars movies, just kind of like a list of them chronologically and some about the movies, it was riddled with inaccuracies, and it prompted this big backlash and outcry from Gizmodo staff because they're looking at these stories saying, they said things like, quote, they're actively hurting our reputations and credibility, and they show, quote, zero respect for journalists. So the company is trying to use AI, failing at it, and their human writers are up in arms about it. And then, kind of last but certainly not least, news recently came out of a leaked email from a German tabloid named Bild. And it details how this publication plans to pretty overtly just replace over 100 jobs with AI. So in the email, the tabloid said that, quote, unfortunately, be parting ways with colleagues who have tasks that in the digital world are performed by AI and or automated processes. The email also detailed that the people who'd be replaced by AI include, quote, editors, print production staff, sub-editors, proofreaders, and photo editors, and that these careers, quote, will no longer exist as they do today. Now, that's just kind of one publication, but it is notable to say that they are owned by a company called Axel Springer, which is a major European publishing house. And they also own other well-known publications like Business Insider and Politico. So there are some fears that this could be kind of more widespread. So, Paul, I want to start with the Gizmodo story specifically because you had posted about this on LinkedIn saying, quote, every brand and media company should be experimenting with AI-assisted content, but not like this. So how should companies be experimenting with AI content?
Yeah, the next sentence was, it's lazy. It gives the appearance of a complete lack of understanding around how the technology works. I mean, I'm honestly just shocked that a major media outlet would make this kind of misstep. Like, it's just, it looks really, really bad. I mean, I think it destroys the trust, certainly, of the team, the audience. If I'm reading something and I'm expecting it to be correct from a trusted source and it's not, I'm going to get really annoyed. So I just feel like it was obvious and inevitable that people were going to use this technology to take shortcuts. I think there's a lot of financial pressure on these media outlets. Certainly, there's probably a lot of pressure to be, integrating the technology. There's probably a lot of push to drive efficiency and reduce the reliance on human writers. Like, I mean, nobody wants to talk about it, but it is absolutely a reality of these, whether they're owned by private equity or they're publicly traded, there is going to be massive pressure to downsize teams if they think they can achieve high level outputs. Now, Gizmodo and other outlets are basically like, hey, this is a piece of content that just wouldn't have been written otherwise. Like, we're not replacing writers necessarily. We're just creating it. It's like, yeah, right. But you're testing AI to write this stuff to say, end of the day, you're all about generating revenue through ads and clicks. So if you can do that through crap content written by AI instead of quality content written by humans, there's going to be a pretty high motivation to do that. So it's just a downward spiral that inevitably leads to like collapse of these companies. Like, I really don't get how this is not obvious that this doesn't end well. So whether it is, just having some random stuff written by AI and not even like somebody left a comment in my LinkedIn thing about verify and edit. It's like, just verify and edit. Like, you can have the AI write the Star Wars story, but have someone on the staff who knows the Star Wars chronology or can use Wikipedia, have an
Yeah.
intern, somebody goes through and makes sure this is correct. So this idea that you're just trusting this tech to just pump something out. So either they don't understand how the tech works and that it makes stuff up, or they don't care. Neither of those looks good on the editorial team.
Yeah.
And so if you're a brand or a media company, just you should care about the output of your content. It shouldn't just be about like ad dollars or search results because eventually you're going to just destroy your brand doing that. And it's not going to take very long. So, I mean, stuff like this is just maddening to me. Either it's just really bad leadership that just doesn't get it, or they just don't care.
Mm.
And neither of those is a good scenario.
No. So when it comes to like the AI generated content farms, I was just kind of curious, like if these businesses, for instance, or the Gizmodos of the world think that they're able to make money doing this, then clearly they're attracting some type of traffic to their sites by doing this, who they then show programmatic ads to. Like, is this going to be a problem that Google needs to solve, especially as Google has not come out and said AI generated content necessarily is bad?
Yeah, you would think. And there was an article, I don't believe we have it in the show notes, and I'd have to go back and find it, but there was an article a week or so ago about all these major brands that were appearing along this horrible AI generated content.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be a reckoning from an ad perspective too. And also, it's just like, how long does the content farm game last? Like
Hmm.
you and I, when did you start working at PR 2020? Was it like 2000?
2012.
2012.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, people don't know the history. So I owned an agency called PR 2020. We were HubSpot's first partner back in '07. Mike joined me there in 2012 as a content specialist, a writer.
Yep.
That was around the time when content farms were exploding. So
Hmm.
people were paying like 1 to 3 cents per word. I started in the industry in 2000, and the going rate was like about $1 per word, but depending on how highly technical it was, maybe it was be $2 to $3 per word for like scientific papers or advanced B2B papers, something like that. But then it started like kind of coming down. And by 2012, 2013, you had these content farm companies that were cropping up that were charging literally like 1 to 3 cents per word.
Yeah.
And that's what we were fighting against as an agency was like, no, we're not going to discount the quality of our content. You're paying for junk. Like they're not even verifying this stuff. And it's almost like we're living through that again, except now AI can be the content farm and it can probably be less than a penny per word.
Hmm.
But to what end? Like the content farm game didn't work. AOL tried to do it with what was it, patch something
Yeah.
or other. They came out
Yeah.
with that junk site. And from the outside, you watch this stuff happen. You're like, this isn't going to work. Like, yeah, you may make some money for a year or two, but this is a horrible business model. And I just feel like I'm watching it all over again. Like this is just except at a whole nother scale. And it just never works. Just, I don't know, produce
Yeah.
good content, use AI to assist you in the creation of it, the curation of the content, the enhancement of the content, the outlining, like use it, but don't think you can take humans out of the loop. Like it's just not a viable thing right now. And nor do I think it should be the goal.